retweet it from yours and say we're live?
All
right, we're live.
Woo.
Hello, welcome inside Fever Insider Live. Brian Haenchen and Chloe Peterson here with you. We're just going to sit here and let people come in, actually. I'm going to put on the little image file. Just should have done earlier. Hello, welcome inside Fever Insider Live. Brian Haenchen and Chloe Peterson here with you, recapping a Fever loss 95-90 against the Minnesota Lynx. Another night, another injury with Chloe Bibby being rolled out pregame with left knee injury. And then another injury during the game with Odyssey Sims coming up lame, I think, after going in for a layup attempt, it looked like. Comes down, plays defense briefly, ends up checking out of the game. She did come back and return to the bench. But after the game, Stephanie White said no clarity on what the injury itself was, just that she'll be evaluated tomorrow. Same with Chloe Bibby. Chloe Peterson, I mean, it just – you don't think it could get any worse injury-wise, and it finds a way to get worse.
Yeah, there's some kind of, weird thing, and, you sign Odyssey Sims because of a hardship in which you already have 3 players out for the season, and obviously Caitlin Clark out for an extended time for, over a month now, and, you sign Odyssey Sims to fill that hardship, and then she gets injured herself too. It kind of seems to quantify all the bad luck the Fever have been having this season.
Just unbelievable. So we get here, and Chloe's the one who filled me in about Chloe Bibby going down with the injury. Again, it's the same thing. It's unbelievable. Another hardship player gets injured. Chloe Bibby, she had been dealing with a little bit of soreness in her left knee, according to Coach Stephanie White. Then she feels something. She felt something pregame, so they're holding her out as a precaution. That obviously changed the dynamic of the game against Minnesota because she was the wing. She was one of the 2 healthy wings, and with Cunningham out, it was expected that Chloe Bibby would play a more significant role. But instead, she's out, so you're left with just Lexi Hull as the lone wing.
Lexi Hull, lone wing. I mean, she stepped up tonight. 38 minutes, a career high, 23 points for Lexi Hull, and she did everything she could do as the only wing on the team. And obviously, Amber Cox told me today too that they're definitely going to sign someone tomorrow. It's going to be a wing to obviously help Lexi in that. And we don't know how long, Chloe Bibby is going to be out either, but this hardship signing is to help replace Sophie Cunningham because, they couldn't sign a third hardship player, which kind of crazy. We're talking about a third hardship player. They couldn't sign a third hardship player until after Sophie Cunningham missed the game, and this was her first game that she missed today after suffering that injury on Sundays or during Sunday's game against Connecticut. So they'll be signing someone to help out Lexi Hull, and we obviously don't know the severity of Chloe Bibby's injury or the severity of Odyssey Sims or what's going on there either. And the Fever did cancel practice tomorrow as well, or they're instead of doing a full practice, they're kind of just doing film, which obviously is fair for them because you can't really do much of a practice when you have 8 available players. I guess you could, but why would you do that? We'll get more clarity on that either tomorrow through press release and stuff, or maybe Sunday when the Fever head to Minnesota. But just tough luck for the Fever.
The Fever did not have terrible, shitty, bad luck. They would have zero luck at all. Yeah, honestly, that's about the way this season has gone. Let's talk about the game proper.
Yes,
and the result isn't surprising. The way that it unfolded was surprising in kind of a positive way for stretches. The way that they started was great. The third quarter was an unmitigated disaster, but there is, and I know that this sounds like BS and blowing smoke up people's butts, but it's not. There is a lot of value, and it was expected the way that they battled back after such a disastrous third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, the first quarter was, I think, pretty surprising in how hot they came out. They made 9 of their first 12 3-pointers. They seemed to be making basically everything that they shot. I think in the first quarter they shot 64% from the field, but they led by as many as 11 points in the second quarter, and it was a really good start for obviously a team that's been depleted by injuries, and then playing against the best team in the league. Obviously Minnesota was without Nafisa Collier, but they've been without her for a while, and they've still been doing pretty good. So it was a very encouraging start, I would say, for the Fever, who haven't played Minnesota since the Commissioner's Cup. Then obviously, as you mentioned, that disastrous third quarter where, the Lynx scored, 32 points. They went 7 for 7 in the paint, and it seemed like there were multiple times in that third quarter where there were just defensive, mishaps with the Fever. Multiple times where the Lynx could get that wide open layup where there was just nobody even really looking at them. And that, I think, was the lulls, the lapses that lost them the game, obviously, because, they won the first quarter. The Fever won the first quarter by 5, lost the second quarter by 3, and then lost the third quarter by 15, and then won the fourth quarter by 8. So you take out that third quarter, obviously, they would have won the game. And to be able to come back in the fourth quarter, too, Aaliyah Boston scored 6 straight points to kind of rally the crowd back up. They were on their feet. They were only down 7 at that point.
They got it down to 5.
Yeah,
I think she made it 8 straight.
Yeah, they got down to 5 points, and to be able to do that is pretty impressive, especially for a team that, in that fourth quarter, they, saw Odyssey Sims kind of limp down the court and limp straight back to the locker room. It was something where they could have folded and been like, okay, we're losing this game, but they didn't. And, Lexi Hull mentioned that post-game, too, that was something that was really encouraging, that they were able to fight back the way they did, especially against a team that's the best team in the league right now, and against, Jessica Shepard, who played 40 minutes and had a triple-double within 22 of those minutes. So that was just kind of crazy. But yeah, it was encouraging in spurts for the Fever, I would say.
The defensive lapses in the third quarter felt like a regression to kind of the beginning of the season almost. Yeah. Where it was open layups. Like there were multiple times, and it's just like the rivers parted for Moses. They're getting in there. Steph White brought it up after the game. I mean, Kayla McBride goes 4 for 8 from 3. She was getting a lot of open looks. She can't do that. And the thing was that the Fever offensively were playing good enough to win the game. Like they played well, shot the ball well in the third quarter, 44% for the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and only a couple turnovers. I mean, that's most nights that's good enough. Like you'd accept that as a quality quarter, but just defensively, I mean, you let the other side shoot 87% from the field, 75% 3 for 4 from 3. You turn them over 3 times. You can't do much with it. I mean, it was shocking. But then with the rematch coming up on Sunday, it was important to see them battle back like that and to bounce back for sure. Lexi Hull, have we talked about Lexi Hull yet?
Yeah, I mentioned her.
Yeah, Lexi Hull, really impressive. Hunting shots early. A couple of those backdoor cuts got her going, and then she started stepping out from 3. I mean, just that's what they're going to need from her, is that they need her to discover that offensive consistency that's eluded her this season. Like we saw it against Chicago. Kind of went quiet again, saw it again tonight, and now it's kind of like they need her to be right in that range again.
Yeah, and I think it was a good night for Shea Petty too. Obviously, she had 2 practices coming into tonight, which is more than what a lot of their other hardship players got. I think Odyssey Sims got 1 practice. Ari McDonald, when she came in June, she got 1 practice, and I think the better ramp up when it comes to getting integrated with the team really helped her, because she came in that first quarter. She knocked down like 3 3-pointers in a row, I think it was. And she finished with 10 points and, 4 assists. So kind of she had to fill in at point guard there at the end too, when Odyssey Sims left the game with that injury. And I think, for being on the team for 3 days as of now, she was really impressive in her 20-some minutes.
Yeah. Any other takeaways from that game? Kelsey Mitchell, 27 points, 9 for 20 shootings, just a hair under 50%, 5 for 7 from 3. Again, just kind of doing her thing of putting the team on the back. Aaliyah Boston, like you mentioned, I mean, they had something cooking there with just attacking with her inside, which ironically was where the defense was lacking earlier. But she found a way to get loose after being kind of contained. It felt like through the first couple, 2-3 quarters, got loose and started doing her thing inside. So those were positives.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game. I was talking to Tony East, as Brian says, Tony West, Tony North.
Yes. Directional Tony.
I was talking to him
called.
After the game, and we were talking about how it seemed like a game that it never really felt like a close game, but it obviously was a close game basically the entire time. It just felt like a weird game where both teams were shooting the ball really well. Like, obviously Minnesota finished shooting 56% from the field, and then Indiana finished 55% from the field and 65% from three-point range. Like, it was just a weird game in which nobody really played defense, but it didn't feel like that close of a game, but it was most of the time.
It was kind of a fun game to watch, I guess. So from an observer standpoint, it was fun. I don't know. There's, like we said, there's value in the way that they fought back. Didn't really expect him to win this game coming in. So as an onlooker who's seen them now a few times in a row, I feel like positive with the outcome, all things considered, especially the injury. And that's something that Stephanie White alluded to after the game as I discovered my point as I'm talking. If somebody asked her, what positive you take from the game, she pointed to the assists. The assist to field goal ratio of 24-34, which is really good. And having some balanced scoring tonight. And then she also just pointed out and reiterated something that she's always gone back to, is just the resiliency of this team and the willingness to continue fighting and to get through everything. A couple of comments in there. We'll just read them off quickly. If you want to get involved, you can do so now. I think we'll go for another 5 to 10 minutes. So if you want to jump in with some comments, you can before we turn this over to Chloe to talk about her favorite TV show. Why does it seem what seems to be a simple groin aggravation or strain taking so long? I mean, is there really such a thing as a simple groin aggravation or strain?
I don't think so. I know Lisa Leslie talked about it on a talk show she went on a while ago. Like, when she strained her groin when she was early in her WNBA career, that was something she kind of felt for the rest of her career, which isn't really encouraging for really anyone that gets a groin strain, especially obviously Caitlin Clark and stuff like that. But I think obviously she has this groin strain, but this is the first time she's dealing with these injuries, and this is her 4th separate muscle injury of the season too. And I think they're trying to take extra special precaution because she had that groin strain in May, came back after 2.5 weeks, and then she suffered that left groin, or she had the quad strain in late May, and then obviously came back, played 5 games, suffered that left groin strain, was out for 2 weeks, came back, played 4 games, suffered that right groin strain. So I think they're really trying to make sure that she is fully healed from this right groin strain, and just trying to make sure that she doesn't overcompensate either, because that might have been the issue with coming back from that first quad strain. She was possibly overcompensating and trying to use less of her quad muscle and then more of her groin muscle, and that led to the left groin injury. And then coming back from the left groin injury, she could have been trying to use less of the left groin muscle and more of the right groin muscle, and that led to this right groin injury. So I think a lot of it too is she's been working back for a while, and I think she's just trying to make sure, and her training staff and everyone's trying to make sure, that she doesn't overcompensate in other muscles, like in and around her legs and hips, so she doesn't just strain or injure something else.
And that's something too that Stephanie White talked about before the game on Sunday, was that Caitlin Clark kind of learned, coming back from the groin injury the first time, the importance of taking the time with it, being patient, and not trying to come back too soon, like making sure that you're about as close to 100% as you can be before you come back, because you don't want to suffer re-injury. So that's why it's taking so long. And again, muscle injuries, not unlike concussions, come with their own unique timelines, a point that we've said a lot, and it just bears reiterating. And I understand where fans are coming from. It's frustrating, certainly. And as somebody who enjoys watching good basketball and a player for talent, it's a bummer not getting to see her play and cover her. But at the same time, I think for everybody, it's just important to maintain perspective and an understanding that there's a bigger picture to think about, and that bodies heal differently, and muscle injuries are a weird thing.
Yeah.
Any word on the wrap that was on AB's thigh? I did not see a wrap on AB's thigh.
There was a wrap on her thigh on, I think, yesterday's practice. I haven't, heard anything about it. I think that's just one of those things where obviously Steph White mentioned pregame when we asked her about Chloe Bibby and this left knee injury. Like, she was dealing with left knee soreness, just like everybody else is dealing with soreness at this time of the year. I don't think it's necessarily anything to worry about with AB's thigh or the wrap on her thigh. It might just be something that there is a little bit of soreness there, and they're trying to, keep it warm and keep it wrapped up so it doesn't lead to anything else, is what I thought.
Yeah, and I mean, to the point of players playing through things, cycling over to Kelsey Mitchell, I mean, she got banged up a little bit tonight. Nothing that was bad enough to keep her out of the game, but I mean, you could see there are moments there where she's playing through something, and to still do what she does, I mean, is impressive. And I honestly think we were kind of talking about this before during the game, but it seems like she's been kind of battered and bruised since that Chicago game on the road. And the fact for her to continue playing at such an elite level through those injuries counts for a lot, which is admirable, I'd say.
Yeah, I think obviously since that Chicago game where she seemed to have maybe tweaked something, but obviously she's kept playing through everything, and you can kind of see sometimes when she has a little bit of a break, she's grimacing a little bit on the court, but she's playing through everything, and it's obviously not anything bad enough to keep her off the court, which is great for the Fever because they obviously don't need anything else right now.
Yeah.
So just the way she's been able to fight through things is just admirable, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. We're going to go here for a few more minutes. So if you got any last questions, comments, anything positive, really, feel free to throw it in the chat. Seeing the injured players so engaged online and on the sideline shows how tight this team really is. I hope for Caitlin Clark's sake she gets to finish the season playing after working so hard to get back. I will use that as a segue to the shirts that they were wearing. Kelsey Mitchell MVP shirts. Stephanie White was wearing it on the sideline. Players were wearing it during warm-ups. So that was just kind of a cool gesture. And to T Smiles' point, it does speak to just how tight this team is. And that was a player-led initiative, by the way, the shirts, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool when obviously Kelsey was asked about it post game, and she got a little bit emotional, it seemed, about how much, obviously her teammates just run with her. And she talked about how, she's been on this team in this franchise for 8 years now, and she's finally seeing that obviously success of being, a winning team at this time and kind of hitting the prime of her career too. And she just talked about how humbling it was to kind of see her teammates acknowledge that.
Absolutely. The number of injuries here to the Fever has been alarming. I wonder what's going on. I don't know. Maybe somebody did something to an Indian burial ground, a curse, any number of things. Yeah. Honestly, walked under a couple ladders, kicked a couple black cats. I don't know what else people do for bad luck, but they've certainly had more than their fair share of injuries this year. And
I think it's not even really just only the Fever too. Like, I know Dallas a couple games ago, they had like 4 players out with just different knee injuries.
Jeez.
And then Golden State tonight, I believe they have 5 players out with different injuries playing Phoenix tonight. And it's kind of something that, I'm not sure if we're paying more attention to it now compared to other years or kind of what's going on. It seems like there's more injuries than there have been, across the league, obviously with the Fever, these 5, and then, across the league too. It's just kind of a bad trend that's been going on this year.
Somebody did this, and this will be something we dive into, I think, on a regular show, but Heather Summers on Twitter Hunter Summers 1. I'd recommend finding her because she did a thread analyzing the injury numbers from last year compared to this season, and the number of injuries per day spiked a little bit this season, to say the least. So really interesting thing, something we should dive into, and something honestly that I think it'd be interesting to have her on to discuss those findings, because it's a real issue. And not only is it players getting hurt, it's the league's biggest stars who are Caitlin Clark. Paige Beckers has missed time. I mean, just
obviously Nafisa Collier.
Nafisa Collier, whom we should talk about before we get out of here too. She warmed up tonight.
Yeah.
Thought maybe she'd be a go, but I guess she was just testing things out, seeing how things felt. Didn't feel good enough to play. Do you think she's going to play on Sunday?
I would think so. She's been questionable now for a couple games. She was upgraded from out to doubtful last week. Obviously, she warmed up tonight, and obviously, I'm not sure what kind of made them switch to out instead of available, but I think she's obviously been getting close, and doing these warm-ups is a good sign for her return, especially for getting close to it maybe on Sunday. And I think it was tough with Minnesota this week too, because they've been playing a lot and they haven't had a lot of practice time. They played on Tuesday, they played last night against Atlanta, and then they played tonight too, and then they play on Sunday again. So it's like they don't have much time for practicing, and if that's what they want Collier to have before she comes back, that'd be different, but I guess we'll see for Sunday.
I guess we probably had this with the Fever earlier in the season, but the way the Minnesota schedule's lined up here recently is just kind of asinine. Liberty kind of went through the same thing. They're playing the music to get us off, so I'm going to turn over to Coiler, talk about the Summer I Turned Pretty, and then we're going to get out of here.
Well, get off now if you don't want the spoilers on the Summer I Turned Pretty, but I am still a Jeremiah hater, okay? Because let me tell you, I didn't talk about this in last week's episode, but they were looking at apartments, and Jeremiah is obviously a Nepo baby, right? And his dad pays his credit card, but he opened up his own credit card to get free Bruins tickets, which why would you do that? That's terrible for your credit. And then he spent money on that credit card, and then he didn't pay off the credit card, so now his credit is terrible. Like, why would you do that when your dad literally pays your credit card? And then, so that was in episode 5, that was last week, but this week was, now they were looking for apartments because Jeremiah also just didn't know that he didn't have the credits to graduate, so he needs to do another semester at their fictional college of Finch. And then so he told Belly, which once again terrible nickname, that he wanted her to stay because she was going to go study abroad in Paris, but then she was like, I don't know if I want to go, and he was like, you shouldn't go, you should stay with me at Finch. So she's staying with him and she's not going to Paris, but now he decided, he did this internship at his dad's company, which, everyone called him a Nepo baby, his dad's company, which is fair. But then now his dad offered him a full-time job at the company, and he's going to take his classes online and work for his dad instead of living with Belly at Finch. So Belly could have gone to Paris, and he could have worked for his dad in Boston, which fictional Finch is in Rhode Island, so it's far away. Or I don't know how far away they are. Everything in New England's confusing.
30 seconds.
But anyway.
We're dropping viewers like flies.
Anyway, those are my thoughts. Team Conrad, thank you for your time.
Chloe has been talking about that segment, so God bless the 11 of you who stayed for this and everybody else who watches on rewatch. This is the only thing that keeps Chloe going is the opportunity to come here and obviously talk with me because I'm wonderful, and also to talk about the Summer I Turned Pretty and to spread Conrad propaganda?
Yes, Conrad propaganda.
Conrad propaganda. So from the Yingling flight deck, she is Chloe Peterson. I'm Brian Haenchen, Hank as it were. Chloe will be in Minneapolis on Sunday for the game against the Lynx. The rematch will both be back together for Tuesday's game against the Seattle Storm.
Yes.
Against the Seattle Storm, I think we'll do another afternoon live show. We'll probably do that noon slot again, either Tuesday or Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. Also, be on the lookout for a big announcement on plans for the channel. We're going to get our own little Fever TV channel, which is pretty exciting stuff.
Like, and how is all my Summer I Turned Pretty thoughts on one channel?
Exactly. We're going to call your own little Summer I Turned Pretty podcast. One last comment here I'm going to pop up here. Are the Fever going to look into their training practices with these injuries? I mean, a lot of these have happened during games.
Yeah.
And if this were isolated to the Fever, I think that the questions and complaints about the training staff would
be more justified.
They'd be justified. They'd be more valid. But it's not just the Fever. And it's not like these things are happening in practice. Like, they're freak accidents. Like, Ari McDonald breaking her foot is a freak accident. ACL injuries. I mean, I cover high school sports, and there's just an absurd number of ACL injuries. And it's like one of those seasons where, like Kelsey Mitchell said in the past, like, shit happens.
Yeah, I think part of it, too, is as a lot of, coaches and players have mentioned, it's, scheduling issues too. I feel like it's a lot more of a condensed schedule. Obviously last year they had the Olympic break where they were off for 3-4 weeks. But this schedule, you have 44 games and it's in this like condensed, May 15th to September 10th. It's a condensed schedule, and you have teams like Minnesota this week playing 4 games in 6 days. And obviously Indiana's been in that boat too at times during the season, so it's just tough.
Yeah. And I mean, but it's all knees and guards. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Nafisa Collier's a forward.
knees happen,
Yeah.
legs, shoulders, knees, and toes as it goes. I just, it happens. I don't know. I think this is the one who was a big fan of you the last time that you maybe went over.
Thanks for returning.
Yes. Thank you all for watching. It's 11 o'clock and we have 12 people here. 12
Okay.
people who stuck through. So thank you guys so much. We'll be back on Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.